Welcome back to Into the Veil. For those of you that are new, I'm Rachel, and as always, it's great to have you all with me. And please know that I always look forward to your comments and your questions, as it helps me to know how I can possibly be more helpful to you. So please don't be shy. This subject matter also has been requested by a number of you. And in part 1, we began by discussing what most would call or consider to be the other side, as well as the necessary level of acceptance and open-mindedness required in beginning to understand how each of us receives information from that which we cannot easily see, but have perhaps had a number of experiences already in understanding that these realms and dimensions do indeed exist. Now, in the first part, we also mentioned the chakra system and how these great spinning wheels also influence the way in which we not only receive information, but also in how we might assimilate that same information. Several of you have wondered if you are blocked, as we often call it, from these communications. And I do feel it's important to mention that sometimes these centers, it can indeed be blocked. But not only that, they can also be working in a counter-clockwise motion. The natural motion to these is clockwise. So certain, maybe specific events, especially those that can be exceptionally emotional or even traumatic in our lives, can send them into a backward motion. And there are ways to test through this. A lot of reflexologists, even Reiki workers, can use energetic devices such as pendulums. Rods can be used. For someone that's extremely intuitive, they can also perceive what motion the energy is flowing in. There are a variety of different things that can be done, and that's part of what we have learned how to do over time, is not only to receive information from these centers with individuals we've worked with, to open up the chakra system, but also to make sure that they are moving in a correct motion. So, food for thought for those of you that think there may be something blocking or inhibiting your ability to communicate or receive information clearly. It's worth looking into how energy flows through your body. Another thing we also were last mentioning in the first video was the need to ask for these activations. I've learned that it's extremely helpful to request specifically that your gifts and talents would be actuated now in those prayerful meditations. You'll always receive what you ask for, but specification is important. Now brings it into alignment with where you are at this moment. When you think about how expansive you are and how long you have been, it's important to draw that energy into your current conscious space. And if you can proverbially understand that 1,000 years on earth is a day in heaven, 20 years on earth is a drop in the bucket in the grand scheme of things when we're speaking of time as it works outside of the 3D world. So be specific. Help your guides help you. The more specific you are, the sooner your journey can unfold and you can begin to learn about all of who you are. Now, let's move forward. Another way we recall our psychic gifts is to receive the pictures and train our brains with acceptance. And we learn to get better at receiving images and catching those images, sometimes like a slideshow, sometimes just a single image, and what the information is in that. And it's something that can be fun, and it's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be laborious. And then there is also the seventh chakra, the crown. And this is where we receive quite often just that clear knowing, where you just know something with your whole body. And it has nothing to do with the rational mind or logical facts. You just know what you know. Now, a lot of times what I've found is that this will be accompanied with a sense of goosebumps throughout your whole body when you've acknowledged the thought. And something I've realized is not only is this confirmation to that thought, but it also is signature to your DNA being activated as you remember. And it's a great sign to receive. And it's likely that once this part of your DNA has reawakened, it will never go back to sleep. The more we learn to trust ourselves, give thanks, and relax, the more we can expand with ease. Now, as you grow, you may occasionally have messages given to you that allow you to assist others. Often these bits of information might just be to enable a greater sense of compassion within you, an understanding of what they might be going through. On rare occasion, it will sound like a specific request to tell somebody this or that. But nearly always, when it's from these higher vibrational energies, it's going to be something that will create comfort or reassurance to an individual. I have seldom, if ever, seen higher energies working to create fear or working to, try to say, oh, you need to be careful because you're going to have this happen or that happen. So just be careful and make sure to always ask. A lot of times I will ask before I share anything specifically with an individual, but there's always an answer. Yes, no, not yet, or just no, and so on. It's simple, it's concise, it's clear, and it's warm. It's not fearful or feeling like it's looking to disempower anyone. So always discern spirit. So now consider all of it. How do you get your information? Do you use 1, 2, 3, maybe more? I have met incredibly talented individuals that actually receive a lot of their insight through smell. So remember, energy has a smell. This may be you. You may smell something sweet. You may smell something that leaves a metallic taste in your mouth. There is no right or wrong, but it is all about knowing yourself. And after you've kind of assessed the way you might get your information, you do have to meditate a bit. Relax into it. Let your body and your mind shut down the external stimulus so that you can really go in and start to receive those subtle but super powerful pieces of information coming from that other plane, from your personal helpers and loved ones, and divine essence itself, if it so chooses. A lot of times this will start with at least 10 deep breaths. I'll put a link at the end of the video to a meditation that I think would be very good. But breathe in through your nose for a slow count of no less than 3. 4 if you can. Draw down the quiet. Draw down the stillness as you hold that breath for a moment. 2 moments. 3 moments. 4 moments. Gather up any chaotic or distracting energy that might be in your body or in your energetic field. Then steadily and slowly blow that breath out of your mouth and let all of that negativity flow out with it. Even this can take work because there will be subconscious resistance for any positive new action or habit that you try to create in your life. So this is no different. But this also can get better with practice. The mind does not like change, especially the parts of our mind that are reasonably controlled by ego. Ego will judge. Ego would tell you it's a waste of time, and ego would try to tell you horrible things that would keep you feeling disconnected. It takes determination to gain your personal experiences and knowings. Now, I don't ever want you to just believe me because I'm saying it is so. I want you to be open enough to have your own experiences and see it for yourself. The way that people communicate with us from the other side is through our physical world and our physical senses as much as it is through clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. There will be perfect synchronicities, meaningful, quote, coincidences, music, nature, a multitude of signs, license plates, you name it. When you open up, they're going to begin to respond. And remember, love responds to love. If you're loving yourself and you're investing in yourself, you're going to see a response to that. In January of 2003, we were brought to a young man, nearly 18 years old, that was in a vegetative state after a severe car accident. The family had asked if we would be willing to work with him to see if he was still present or what his spiritual state might be. And I promise you, I will never forget this experience as long as I live. As we worked with him, we were checking each of his energetic centers, trying to see if there was anything blocked. Oftentimes, these receptors, as you develop your own intuitive abilities, these receptors not only speak to you as an individual, but you can be spoken to through those. Reiki masters will do a better job of explaining it than I will. But it's all about energy. Now, as we worked with him, we were checking the centers, and we reached the top of his head, at about the third eye and the crown simultaneously. Suddenly, I felt like I was transported, for lack of a better way to put it, taken to what looked like a beach. And I only saw a few rocks, the ocean, and the white sand. And then, when I turned, there was a rock facing and a cave right there, not far from the water. And it wasn't entirely dark. It felt safe. The view was incredible. And suddenly I felt him there with me. But I couldn't see him. So in a lot of ways I felt that maybe we were both sharing his field of energy. And I quickly sensed his need for safety, isolation, and there had been extreme pressure in his senior year as he'd been trying to select colleges, keep up with grades, and had such an extreme desire to make his parents proud of him, but he had also a huge fear of failure. And he loved them very much. And after what could only have been a few short minutes, I was back in the room with Ken and the young man's mother. I'm not sure they truly realized I had technically gone anywhere. As I looked down at the young man's resting face, his eyes were closed, and I caught sight all of a sudden of this incredible energy. It was him, but not him. It was like it was just laying on top of him, and I wish I could explain it better. But it was a soft pink and green with just bits of white that I could see in its essence, and it looked straight into my eyes with nothing but love. And the eyes were very round, much larger than his. The eyelashes were long enough to touch its cheekbones as it slowly closed and opened its eyes in a repeated gesture. I can't say that it looked at all like him, and all I could think was unbelievable. And I felt a zing of energy run through my entire body as our eyes met. And suddenly I had the strongest sense that this energy was virtually keeping him alive. A part of the young man was gone. Call it on vacation, so to speak. But this one was keeping him alive until he made a choice to go on or come back. And it was just surreal. Sometimes they will get you to be drawn to things like clocks energetically. They may show you a time of death to let you know they're near. I've seen a lot come back to try to provide clarity. You know, if they cross over, they get that quick life review, and a lot of things that are not clear to us in this realm become very clear to those that have crossed over. And many want to communicate that they're not the same. You know, if they had trauma or addiction or abusive natures, that they're not that person. And many have been looking for a level of atonement, forgiveness, as they didn't feel quite clear to move forward without attempting to acquire it. And remember, if you take the word atonement and you break it up, it is at one meant. Their understanding of the one heart, of all being connected, it looks to heal and bind what might keep that at one-ment from existing peacefully in its perfection. Some souls might tarry on the earth plane out of their own fear of judgment or insistent on not deserving love. But I do know that in my experience, a soul is a soul. And unless they have absolutely, teetotally refused the Creator does not cease to quit loving His creation just because they aren't in a physical vessel. So if you have any around you that might feel lost, speak to them, guide them, ask that their angels will show them home. Most souls or energies will show something specific to your time with them, or perhaps their time with someone you may be working with. I had a 9-year-old boy once that was taken from his family unexpectedly. And as I spoke with his mother, he showed me an amazing rose, and it was a salmon color, not pink, not exactly orange, and just one. He said, I heard, I should say, "Please, get the color right. Tell her." And as I did so, she about fell out of her chair. And once she kind of regained herself, she said the rose. It was what he gave me for Mother's Day just before we lost him. And the exact color, how would you know? I really didn't have an answer. But what I do know is that this young man was one of nearly 30 unexpected and almost entirely unexplainable deaths in Bardstown, Kentucky. All of them young, very young. We put together a day for all of the families to come and reach out to these children if they wanted to. It was a full day of it, emotional for me as I felt the pain of these families, but I will never regret it, never forget it, and I'm thankful if given the opportunity to help. So many in need of healing, and most of that healing was found in knowing that their babies were okay. And I swore it felt as though he had arranged for all of it, but just a feeling. Quite the angel. Remember to offer yourself grace. Offer yourself the gift of working without pressure, without trying to measure up to anyone but yourself. Give yourself patience, time, and the courtesy of a learning curve. No one is grading you but you. Each step is important and valid. Remember to pat yourself on the back for any part of what you've accomplished, and know that there's more where that came from. There is always more. Gratitude brings in more of what you're grateful for, so remember to give thanks. Many situations come up unexpectedly. Divine intervention will win at the end of the day, but if you are a willing participant, your effect can be huge. So if you'd like assistance, reach out to me about some one-on-one time and or classes to help. Spirit is amazing at working with what your natural gifts are and bringing those to the surface, as well as anything that may be blocking you energetically. Find my email in the video description box or the About tab for the channel, and we'll go from there. Remember, if you can, that you are never alone or without support. Peace be with you all. And do remember, this is the beginning, not the all of it. Something to get you started and focused. May you stay blessed. And until next time, bye-bye.